The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Marcus Reed gathered his documents and stood. The massive amphitheater, designed to intimidate with its soaring crystalline ceiling and hovering delegate platforms, had witnessed thousands of diplomatic negotiations over its millennia-long history. But never had it witnessed what was about to happen. Humanity respectfully withdraws from these proceedings, Reed announced, his voice steady despite the gravity of his words. Behind him, the 12 members of the Earth delegation rose in unison, faces impassive as they collected their materials. High Arbiter Voxelith, a towering figure with iridescent scales that rippled with agitation, leaned forward from the central dais, all 6 of his eyes narrowed simultaneously. Ambassador Reed, perhaps you misunderstand the nature of these talks. The Arbiter's translator rendered his clicking speech into standard galactic. The quarantine resolution is not optional. Earth's recent advancements have triggered security protocols. This council has existed for 23,000 cycles precisely because we contain potential threats before they destabilize the galactic balance. Reed paused, turning slowly to face the assembled representatives of the 300 most powerful civilizations in known space. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and by all metrics that mattered in interstellar politics, insignificant. With respect, High Arbiter, Reed replied, we understand perfectly. You've made it abundantly clear that humanity will never be accepted as equals. You've classified our technological innovations as concerning deviations. You've placed monitoring satellites in our home system without consent. And now you propose to limit our expansion to a mere 8 light-years from Sol, while the rest of you carve up the galaxy. The Zelcrian delegate, a being composed primarily of floating plasma contained within a specialized environment suit, pulsed crimson with anger. Your species achieved faster than light travel merely 70 years after discovering nuclear fission. The safety protocols exist for good reason. And yet, Reed continued unfazed, when we shared our medical breakthroughs that could benefit billions across council space, we were told such advancements were disruptive to established healthcare hierarchies. When we offered our quantum communication technology to help species in the Outer Rim, we were blocked on grounds of security concerns. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Thrax delegation, insectoid beings known for their caution, began rapidly conferring among themselves. Several representatives from the younger spacefaring civilizations looked uncomfortable. Your departure changes nothing, declared Diplomatic Minister Olzavi of the Moraki Dominion, her tentacled appendages gesturing dismissively. The quarantine resolution will pass with or without human participation. Your protest is noted and irrelevant. Reed smiled then, a small expression that somehow silenced the entire chamber. We're not leaving as a protest, Minister. We're leaving because there is nothing more to discuss. Earth has already decided its path forward. You speak of war? The High Arbiter's voice carried a dangerous edge. No, Arbiter. We speak of independence. Reed tapped his wristband and a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, with thousands of tiny points of light blinking into existence throughout council space and beyond. While we've been engaged in these talks for the past 4 standard months, humanity has been busy. The council representatives stared in growing horror as they began to understand what they were seeing. The lights represented human outposts, research stations, and colonies, not clustered around Sol as expected, but scattered across the entire galactic arm. Impossible, breathed the Thrax Queen delegate. Our sensors would have detected such widespread expansion. Admiral Tora Blackwell, the Earth Fleet commander who had remained silent throughout the proceedings, stepped forward. Your sensors detect what they're designed to detect. Conventional warp signatures, standard communication protocols, traditional energy emissions. Humanity abandoned those limitations years ago. This is a violation of every treaty, every agreement, began the Arbiter. Treaties we were never invited to help create, Reed interrupted. Agreements made long before we achieved spaceflight. We did not sign them. We are not bound by them. The Moraki minister's skin darkened to a dangerous violet. You will be contained by force if necessary. The Council maintains peace through unity and through control, Reed corrected. And that might have worked with other emerging civilizations. But you made a crucial error with humanity. He gestured for his team to begin moving toward the chamber's exit portal. You threatened us. As the human delegation departed, Admiral Blackwell lingered for a moment longer. "We'll be monitoring the Council's response carefully. Choose wisely. Humanity prefers allies to adversaries." She nodded respectfully to the stunned assembly and turned to follow her colleagues. Behind them, the grand chamber erupted into chaos, delegates shouting over one another, emergency communications being initiated, military advisors being summoned. But the humans didn't look back. In the corridor, Lieutenant Commander Ilara Voss fell into step beside Reed. "Do you think they'll attack?" she asked quietly. Reed's expression was grim but resolute. "They'll try something, but they don't understand what they're dealing with. They've spent so long being the most advanced civilizations that they've become complacent, and we've spent our entire history fighting to survive," Blackwell added, joining them. "Against nature, against each other, against impossible odds. It's in our DNA." As they boarded their shuttle, Reed looked back at the gleaming council spire rising above the capital city of the galactic hub world. "They think we left because we were afraid," he said softly. "Soon they'll realize their mistake." The shuttle's engines hummed to life, using technology no council species could detect or track, and disappeared into the stars, leaving behind a galactic government suddenly facing an unexpected crisis and the dawning realization that humanity was not what they had assumed. The game had changed, and the Council wasn't ready. 3 days after humanity's dramatic exit from the peace talks, First Scholar Nixara of the Archivists Guild hurried through the restricted corridors beneath the Council Tower. Her four-limbed gait was faster than usual, causing other officials to press against the walls as she passed. "First Scholar, you cannot simply demand an audience with the Security Council," protested her aide, struggling to keep pace. Protocols be damned," Nixara snapped, her translucent skin flushing deep orange with agitation. "What I've discovered changes everything." The Security Council, comprised of representatives from the 7 founding species of the Galactic Compact, rarely convened in full session. Today, however, all members were present, engaged in heated debate about the human situation when Nixara burst into their chamber. High Arbiter Voxelith rose from his seat, clearly annoyed. "First Scholar, this is a closed session. The humans didn't just appear 70 years ago," Nixara interrupted, activating her data sphere. "They've been watching us for centuries." Silence fell across the room. The Meraki minister's appendages stiffened. "Explain." Nixara projected her findings onto the central display. "After the humans left, I began searching our oldest archives, looking for anything we might have missed. I found anomalies, observation outposts that disappeared when investigated, unexplained data transmissions, phantom energy signatures, all dismissed as equipment malfunctions or cosmic phenomena." She manipulated the display, showing a timeline stretching back nearly 500 years. "These incidents cluster around major council decisions, territorial expansions, and technological breakthroughs. They were studying us, learning our weaknesses, our patterns." "That's absurd," the Thrax Queen delegate chittered. "Humans achieved spaceflight less than a century ago. Their historical records confirm this." "Their public records," corrected Admiral Gentok of the Unified Defense Fleet, his reptilian features hardening. "Records they allowed us to see." Nixara nodded. "Precisely. I believe a small secret faction of humans achieved rudimentary interstellar capabilities centuries ago. They concealed this from their own population, while gathering intelligence on galactic civilization." "To what end?" asked the Arbiter. "Preparation," Nixara replied simply. "Consider Earth's history, a planet torn by constant warfare, environmental catastrophe, near-extinction events. Yet they survived, adapted, evolved faster than any species we've encountered. They learned to hide their true capabilities because showing strength made you a target on their world." The holographic display shifted to show scattered human outposts throughout Council space. "I've cross-referenced Ambassador Reed's revealed locations with our historical anomalies." The correlation is unmistakable. Many of these new outposts have been there for decades, cloaked from our detection. The Security Council chamber remained deathly quiet as the implications sank in. "There's more," Nixara continued, her voice dropping. 2 hours ago, I discovered a dormant data node embedded in our primary archive system. It's been there for at least 60 years, quietly copying every piece of information that passes through Council databases. The technology is unlike anything in our records. The Kelzar representative, a being of living crystal who had remained silent until now, emitted a harmonic tone of disbelief. You're suggesting humans have had access to our most secure information for decades? I believe they know everything about us, Nixara confirmed. Our defense systems, our technology limitations, our political fractures. Meanwhile, we know almost nothing about them, only what they've allowed us to see. Admiral Gentok slammed a clawed fist on the table. This is an act of war. We must mobilize immediately, contain their outposts before what? A new voice interrupted. All heads turned to see Director Cale Ramirez of the Earth Diplomatic Corps standing in the chamber doorway. No one had heard him enter. Director Ramirez, the Arbiter, recovered quickly. This is a private council session. How did you gain access to this chamber? Ramirez smiled pleasantly. I've had access for quite some time, Arbiter. He walked calmly to the center of the room. First, Scholar Nixara's deductions are impressive, if incomplete. Yes, humanity has been observing the Council for centuries. No, we didn't just recently develop our technology. You admit to espionage? The Meraki minister demanded. We call it due diligence, Ramirez corrected. When we detected your exploration vessels approaching our solar system 300 years ago, we had a choice. Reveal ourselves as a primitive civilization and accept whatever terms were offered, or learn more about our galactic neighbors first. He gestured to Nixara's display. We chose the latter. A small group of humans developed gravity manipulation technology that allowed limited interstellar travel. We established listening posts, gathered information, and made a disturbing discovery. Ramirez's expression hardened. Of the last 27 emerging spacefaring species the Council encountered, 23 were effectively subjugated, restricted to limited territories, their resources exploited, their development controlled. 3 were deemed potentially destabilizing and quarantined entirely. Only 1 was granted full Council membership after surrendering 90% of their colonial claims. Those measures ensure galactic stability, the Arbiter insisted. Young species lack the perspective. Spare me, Ramirez cut him off. You fear competition. So humanity made a strategic decision. We would appear to develop normally, revealing carefully measured technological progress that wouldn't trigger your containment protocols. We would seek peaceful integration while preparing for the likelihood of rejection. The Council members exchanged uneasy glances. Ambassador Reed's revelation was not a spontaneous protest, Ramirez continued. It was the implementation of a contingency plan centuries in the making. What do you want? The Thrax Queen delegate asked bluntly. The same thing we've always wanted. Peaceful coexistence as equals. Not as subordinates. Not as a managed threat. Ramirez straightened his jacket. Humanity is extending one final opportunity for the Council to reconsider its position. We will attend an emergency session tomorrow to discuss revised terms. Admiral Gentok bristled. You're in no position to dictate terms to this Council. Ramirez merely raised an eyebrow. Aren't we? First Scholar, would you mind checking your primary defense network? Right about now. Nixara's datasphere pulsed urgently. Her eyes widened. The perimeter defense grid just went offline. All 47 sectors simultaneously. Don't worry, it's temporary, Ramirez assured them, walking toward the exit. Just a small demonstration. We could have done this at any point in the last 50 years, but we preferred dialogue. We still do. He paused at the doorway. Oh, and you might want to scan that moon of yours. The small one orbiting your 5th planet. We've had a research base there since before your species achieved spaceflight, Arbiter. Your ancestors called the lights they saw there the eyes of the gods. Turns out they were just our windows. As the door sealed behind him, the Security Council sat in stunned silence. Their carefully maintained galactic order had just been upended. How did he even enter this chamber? The Kelzar representative finally asked. Nixara checked her security protocols and laughed. A hollow, defeated sound. According to the system, she said, Director Ramirez has been here the entire time. He has alpha-level clearance issued 20 years ago. The implications were clear. Humanity hadn't just been watching from the shadows. They had been among them all along. The emergency war room aboard the Council's flagship, the Immutable Decree, hummed with tense activity. Holograms displayed tactical scenarios while military commanders from a dozen species debated strategy. At the center of the chaos stood Supreme Commander Dravnos, a veteran of the Hive Wars and the most decorated military mind in Council space. The humans have outposts scattered across 20% of Council territory, he growled, highlighting clusters on the galactic map, but their actual military strength appears minimal. No capital ships detected, no weapon platforms, limited ground forces. Admiral Gentok paced the perimeter, tail lashing with agitation. Don't be deceived by appearances. If they can disable our defense grid, they have offensive capabilities we haven't identified. Indeed, agreed Dravnos. However, our deep space sensors have detected unusual energy signatures near 73 of their outposts. If these are their hidden weapons, we can target them simultaneously with a coordinated strike. We've assembled a fleet of 800 vessels, divided into 16 battle groups. The Meraki minister, observing from a secure feed, intervened. The diplomatic corps is still attempting to negotiate. We cannot appear overtly aggressive. Dravnos flared his neck ridges in frustration. Minister, with respect, the humans have already demonstrated hostile intent. This final opportunity they've extended is merely a delaying tactic, while they consolidate their position. Perhaps, the minister conceded, but the council must appear reasonable. Proceed with your preparations, but execute nothing without direct authorization. After the transmission ended, Admiral Gentok approached Dravnos privately. The politicians will debate until the humans strike first. We should deploy the vanguard at minimum. Dravnos checked that their conversation was secure before responding. I've already dispatched scout flotillas to observe 20 key human outposts. We need better intelligence, and if they detect our scouts, then we'll have the provocation needed to act decisively. Dravnos manipulated the tactical display. The first flotilla should reach the Tau Ceti outpost within 3 hours. Lieutenant Commander Daniel Park of Earth Special Operations sat motionless in the observation blind, watching the Council scout ships arrive precisely when expected. Through his neural interface, he communicated with the outpost's minimal staff. Right on schedule, 5 Thrax destroyers, 2 Kelzar sensor vessels. Maintain emissions blackout. The outpost, disguised as a small mining operation, continued its automated activities while the actual facility remained undetectable, 2 kilometers beneath the surface. The Council vessels established orbit and began active scans. Park's neural link chimed with a priority message from Admiral Blackwell. Valkyrie protocol authorized. Execute Phase 1. A slight smile crossed his face as he authenticated the command. Aboard the Council flagship, Dravnos received the first reports from the Tau Ceti flotilla. Supreme Commander, Scout Group Alpha reports the human outpost appears to be a standard resource extraction facility. Minimal defenses, small crew complement. No military presence detected. Dravnos frowned. Deep scans? Completed. Some unusual readings from beneath the surface, but consistent with mining operations. The flotilla commander requests permission to approach and demand inspection. Before Dravnos could respond, urgent alerts flooded the command console. Within seconds, similar reports arrived from all 20 scout flotillas, each finding only seemingly innocent commercial or research operations. This makes no sense, Gentok muttered. Where is their military infrastructure? The answer came moments later when a junior communications officer interrupted with clear alarm in her voice. Supreme Commander, we're receiving distress calls from the Outer Rim defense stations. All of them simultaneously. Dravnos spun toward the strategic display as red warning indicators blossomed across the galactic map. Not near the human outposts, but at the Council's own military installations along the galaxy's edge. Impossible, he breathed. Those bases are 100,000 light-years from Earth. Communications channels overflowed with frantic reports. Defense Station Epsilon 9 reports unknown devices materializing inside their reactor chambers. Horizon Base losing artificial gravity and life support. Sentinel platform reports all weapon systems reconfiguring to minimum power. Gentok stared at the cascade of alerts in disbelief. They're not attacking, they're neutralizing. Disabling our capabilities without casualties. A priority transmission cut through the chaos. The High Arbiter himself, his scales pale with fury. Dravnos. The humans just announced they've implemented precautionary measures against potential aggression. What is happening? Before Dravnos could formulate a response, the ship's primary systems flickered. The tactical hologram dissolved and reformed, now showing a complete map of Council space with thousands of pulsing red markers, each representing a compromised military installation. It appears, Dravnos said with remarkable composure, that we have severely underestimated the humans' reach. In the Council's emergency session chamber, the mood was grim as Director Ramirez stood calmly before the assembled representatives. As you've discovered, he explained, humanity developed a very different approach to space travel. While you focused on conventional warp technology, we explored quantum entanglement. While you built massive battleships, we created microscopic autonomous systems that could be deployed instantaneously across vast distances. High Arbiter Voxlith's voice was tight with controlled rage. You've infiltrated every major military installation in Council space. This is an act of war. Ramirez shook his head. Not war, Arbiter. Insurance. Our microsystems have temporarily disabled your offensive capabilities while leaving life support and civilian functions untouched. No casualties. No permanent damage. The Kelzar representative vibrated with harmonic indignation. You expect us to believe this is a defensive measure? You've crippled the Council's ability to maintain order throughout the galaxy, only its ability to enforce that order through military threat, Ramirez corrected. Your civilian governance remains intact. Your trade networks function normally. Only your capacity to attack us has been compromised. And if we agree to your terms? The Meraki minister asked, her tentacles coiled tightly. Ramirez's expression softened slightly. Then the systems deactivate and dissolve. We provide you with countermeasures to prevent similar vulnerabilities in the future. Humanity has no desire to control the Council, only to ensure we aren't controlled by it. Why reveal yourselves now? First Scholar Nixara asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. You could have continued operating from the shadows. Because secrecy is exhausting, Ramirez said with unexpected candor. Our people deserve to live openly among the galactic community, to share our discoveries rather than hide them, to explore without constantly looking over our shoulders. He turned to face the entire assembly. Humanity spent centuries preparing for conflict because your history suggested it was inevitable. We're asking you to prove us wrong. Later that night, Supreme Commander Dravnos met secretly with Admiral Gentak in a secure location outside Council jurisdiction. The Council is capitulating, Dravnos said bitterly. They're accepting human terms. Gentak's eyes narrowed. They don't understand the precedent this sets. Other subjugated species will demand similar concessions. Precisely. Dravnos activated a small device that projected coordinates, which is why certain elements within our military command structure have prepared a contingency. Something the humans couldn't possibly have infiltrated because only 5 individuals know of its existence. The Omega Directive, Gentak whispered. Dravnos nodded grimly. A single strike. Devastating and unexpected. Sometimes the survival of galactic order requires sacrifice. What neither realized was that Lieutenant Commander Park was monitoring their conversation through technologies they couldn't detect, transmitting every word to Earth Command. The humans had anticipated this too. The Kelzar observation platform Infinite Clarity drifted through the Oort cloud at the edge of the Sol system. Its crystalline structure, nearly invisible against the backdrop of space, housed the Council's most advanced surveillance technology. Despite the peace agreement being negotiated, the Council had secretly dispatched this stealth observatory to gather intelligence on humanity's home system. Senior Observer Rixil adjusted his crystalline appendages over the sensing apparatus. For 3 days, he had been monitoring unusual energy patterns emanating from the outer reaches of the system, beyond the orbit of the dwarf planet humans called Pluto. Convergence at 97%, he reported to his superior. The human vessels are assembling at the coordinates. Commander Lakax, whose crystalline form held the accumulated knowledge of 4 centuries of surveillance operations, joined him at the array. How many ships now? 342 of various configurations, plus what appears to be a central construction at least 30 kilometers in diameter. Lakax's facets darkened with concern. Despite their assurances of peaceful intentions, they're clearly assembling a massive military force. Transmit your findings to Supreme Commander Dravnos immediately. Encrypted channel Omega. Rixil hesitated. Commander, there's something unusual about this gathering. The energy signatures don't match weapon systems. They're more consistent with, I'm not actually sure what. Speculation is not your function, Observer. Transmit the data. As Rixil prepared the transmission, the observatory's sensors detected a new presence, a small human vessel approaching directly toward their position, impossible given their stealth technology. "We've been discovered," Lekax stated, his crystalline structure vibrating with alarm. The communication system activated unexpectedly. A human female appeared on the display, her expression neither hostile nor particularly concerned. "Kelzar observation platform. This is Admiral Alara Voss of Earth Fleet. Your presence violates Article 3 of the Provisional Peace Accords. However, since you're here, we extend an invitation. Join us at the coordinates you've been monitoring. There's something you should witness firsthand." Before Lekax could formulate a response, their platform began moving, pulled by some invisible force toward the human gathering. "Supreme Commander, Dravnos received the Kelzar transmission just as final preparations for Operation Omega were being completed. The massive planet-killer weapon, disguised as an automated mining platform and constructed in secret over decades, was positioned at the edge of human detection range. This human fleet gathering confirms our suspicions," he told the small group of loyal officers. "They're consolidating their forces while the diplomats distract the council. The Omega weapon will be ready to fire in 6 hours." Admiral Gentok studied the intelligence from the Kelzar observers. "There's something odd about this formation. It doesn't match any known military configuration." "Perhaps human battle doctrine differs from ours," Dravnos dismissed. "What matters is they've concentrated their assets, creating a perfect target. One strike will eliminate their primary fleet and demonstrate the consequences of challenging council authority." A junior officer interrupted with obvious distress. "Supreme Commander, the Kelzar observation platform has gone silent. Last transmission indicates they were detected and invited to approach the human gathering." Dravnos hissed in frustration. "Accelerate the firing sequence. If the humans have captured our observers, we must act quickly." "Sir," Gentok cautioned, "firing without council authorization would constitute a necessary action to preserve galactic stability," Dravnos completed firmly. "The council doesn't understand what's at stake. Once the humans are dealt with, they'll recognize we acted in everyone's best interest." The Kelzar observation platform arrived at the gathering of human ships, now numbering over 400 vessels arranged in a precise geometric pattern around a massive central structure. Commander Lekax and his team had been treated with unexpected courtesy, not as prisoners but as honored observers. Admiral Voss greeted them personally aboard her command vessel. "Thank you for joining us, Commander. What you're about to witness is something we've never shared with non-humans before." "A weapon demonstration?" Lekax asked warily. Voss smiled. "No, Commander. The opposite. We call it the Nexus. It's how humanity travels between galaxies." Lekax's crystalline structure flickered with shock. "Between galaxies? That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would be beyond conventional physics," Voss agreed. "But humanity discovered something centuries ago that changed our understanding of the universe. We don't manipulate space to travel through it. We step outside it entirely." On the central viewing screen, the massive structure at the center of the fleet began to pulse with energy, unlike anything the Kelzar had ever witnessed. The surrounding ships moved in perfect synchronization, channeling power toward the central nexus. "What you're seeing," Voss explained, "is our connection to the other human civilizations. We're not just from Earth, Commander. We're from dozens of worlds across multiple galaxies, united by the Nexus network." As the Kelzar observers watched in stunned silence, the central structure transformed, opening like a massive flower to reveal what appeared to be a window into another part of the universe entirely. A star system they didn't recognize, with its own fleet of ships waiting on the other side. The first Nexus was built by humans from the Andromeda Galaxy, who found Earth 10,000 years ago, Voss continued. They discovered primitive humans with remarkable genetic potential and began a long-term integration program. Some stayed as guides and teachers, slowly introducing advanced concepts without overwhelming Earth's natural development. Lekax's translator struggled to convey his astonishment. "You're saying humans are an intergalactic species? That Earth is just one of many human worlds?" "Earth is our youngest world," Voss confirmed. "The most recent to join the Nexus network. What you interpreted as humanity's suspiciously rapid development was actually carefully guided evolution, our older worlds ensuring Earth's humans would eventually be ready to join the greater community." The implications staggered. Lekax, then the outposts throughout Council, space. Monitoring stations established by our older worlds, long before Earth achieved spaceflight, Voss nodded. When your council began expanding toward Earth, our sister worlds accelerated their guidance program. What might have taken another 1,000 years was compressed into centuries. Suddenly, the ship's alert system activated. Voss received a priority communication, her expression darkening. It seems Supreme Commander Dravnos is about to make a grave error, she said, showing Lekax a tactical display of the approaching planet killer weapon. He's deployed a superweapon against what he believes is a military gathering. Lekax vibrated with alarm. You must disperse your fleet immediately. That weapon can destroy everything within this entire sector. Voss remained calm. We're aware of the Omega weapon. We've been aware since its conception, but thank you for your concern. She opened a channel to the assembled fleet. All vessels standard protocol. Nexus transition in 3 minutes. To Lekax's horror rather than fleeing, the human ships maintained their formation around the Nexus. Admiral, you don't understand the power of that weapon, he insisted. And Dravnos doesn't understand the nature of the Nexus, she replied, directing his attention to the viewing screen. Watch. As the planet killer weapon powered its main firing sequence, the Nexus portal expanded dramatically. The human fleet began to move, not away from the threat but through the portal, ship after ship disappearing into what appeared to be another galaxy entirely. We're not fighting, Voss explained as her own vessel began moving toward the portal. We're leaving. The Nexus can't be destroyed by conventional weapons. It exists partially outside normal space-time. When Dravnos fires, he'll hit nothing but empty space. Lekax's crystalline mind struggled to process the implications. But the peace negotiations were genuine, Voss assured him. We hope to integrate peacefully with the Council, but we always knew some faction might reject coexistence. She gestured to the portal. Your platform will be returned to Council space unharmed, but I suggest you transmit everything you've witnessed. As the command ship approached the portal's edge, Voss delivered a final message. Tell your council that humanity isn't abandoning this galaxy permanently. We'll return when you're ready for true partnership. The Nexus will remain dormant but watching. And remember, what you saw today is just one Nexus of many throughout the universe. The Kelzar observation platform was suddenly enveloped in a field of protective energy as the last human ships disappeared through the portal. When Dravnos's weapon fired moments later, its devastating energy dissipated harmlessly into the empty space where the Nexus had been. Finding no target, in the Council's grand chamber, the emergency session descended into chaos as Lekax's transmitted recordings played for the assembled representatives. 5 standard years passed since humanity's dramatic departure. The Galactic Council had undergone profound changes, some voluntary, others necessitated by the power vacuum left in humanity's wake. The revelation of the Nexus network and humanity's true nature had shattered centuries of complacency. High Arbiter Nixara, formerly first scholar before the governmental restructuring, stood at the viewing port of the Council's new headquarters, a sprawling station constructed near the dormant Nexus portal that humanity had left behind. Every day for 5 years, teams of scientists from across the galaxy had studied the massive structure, learning much but understanding little of its fundamental principles. Still watching the doorway? Asked Kelzar Ambassador Lekax as he joined her, his crystalline form refracting the starlight. Someone should, she replied. The portal has shown increasing energy fluctuations over the past week. The Technical Commission believes those are normal maintenance cycles, Lekax noted, though normal is a curious word to apply to technology that defies our understanding of physics. Nixara turned to face her colleague. The Council vote is scheduled for tomorrow. Do you think we're ready? Before Lekax could answer, the station's alert system activated. The Nexus portal, dormant for years, was awakening, its massive structure beginning the familiar pulsating pattern they had observed in the Kelzar recordings from 5 years ago. All diplomatic personnel to Central Command, announced the station's automated system. Nexus activation detected. First contact protocols engaged. Within minutes, the Council's Emergency Response Committee had assembled, watching as the massive portal flowered open, revealing a swirling gateway to somewhere unimaginably distant. Receiving transmission, reported the communications officer, voice tight with tension. The central display activated, showing a familiar face, Admiral Ilara Voss, appearing hardly changed despite the passing years. Galactic Council, she greeted them formally. On behalf of the United Human Worlds, I extend greetings. We request permission to send a diplomatic vessel through the Nexus to discuss the resumption of relations. High Arbiter Nixara stepped forward. Permission granted, Admiral. We welcome the opportunity for dialogue. As the transmission ended, murmurs spread throughout the command center. For some council members, humanity's return brought apprehension. For others, hope. But for those who had worked toward reform in the interim years, it represented validation of their efforts. The diplomatic vessel that emerged from the Nexus was unlike anything seen before, a seamless construction that seemed to phase partially in and out of conventional reality. It docked with the station using adapters specifically designed for this moment, the product of 5 years of preparation. The council reception chamber fell silent as the airlock cycled open. Admiral Voss entered first, followed by familiar faces, Director Ramirez, Ambassador Reed, but also by humans the council had never seen before, distinctive in their varied appearances, suggesting origins from different worlds. Most striking was the central figure, an older woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. She walked with quiet authority that commanded attention without demanding it. High Arbiter Nixara, Admiral Voss began the introductions. May I present Elder Coordinator Moira Shepard of the Nexus Conclave, representing the United Human Worlds. Nixara performed the formal council greeting. Elder Coordinator, the Galactic Council welcomes you and your delegation to our shared galaxy. Shepard smiled warmly. Thank you, High Arbiter, and congratulations on the reforms you've implemented. We've been watching with great interest. The delegation moved to the conference chamber where representatives from all council species awaited. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful, 5 years of preparation culminating in this historic moment. Elder Coordinator Shepard took her place at the table. Before we begin formal discussions, I believe context is necessary. The United Human Worlds encompasses 37 human civilizations across 12 galaxies, connected by the Nexus network established over 50,000 years ago. Displays activated around the chamber, showing stunning images of diverse worlds, all inhabited by variations of humanity adapted to different environments. Earth was not our first world, but our most recent rediscovery, Shepard continued. Ancient humans seeded countless worlds through early Nexus technology. Over time, contact was lost with many colonies. The Conclave's primary mission is reconnection and reintegration of lost human worlds. Like Earth, Nixara surmised. Precisely. We discovered Earth approximately 12,000 years ago, primitive humans with remarkable potential. Rather than simply revealing ourselves and overwhelming their development, we chose the path of guided evolution, subtle influence, protection from extinction-level events, occasional technological inspiration. The images shifted to show archaeological sites on Earth, ancient structures with designs subtly echoing advanced principles. When we detected your council's expansion toward Earth's region of space, we accelerated our guidance program. What might have taken thousands more years of natural development was carefully compressed into centuries. Ambassador Reed joined the explanation. Earth's rapid technological advancement wasn't miraculous, it was the result of carefully planted ideas and occasional direct intervention by our cousins from the stars. Kelzer Ambassador Lakax's crystalline structure vibrated with curiosity. Then your departure 5 years ago was a strategic pause, Shepard nodded. The Conclave needed time to determine whether this galaxy and its governing council could adapt to our existence. And you needed time to reconsider centuries of established policy. High Arbiter Nixara gestured toward the chamber around them. As you can see, much has changed. The quarantine policies have been abolished. Member species previously restricted to limited territories have been granted expanded rights. The military structure has been decentralized. We've observed these changes with approval, Shepard acknowledged, which is why we're here today with a proposal. The human delegation activated a new series of displays, detailed schematics for technology beyond the Council's current capabilities, sustainable energy production, medical advances that could extend lifespans across all Council species, transportation systems that don't require the Nexus but still vastly outperform conventional warp travel. Director Ramirez gestured to the displays. Everything we once hoped to share before our departure. In exchange for what? Asked the Thrax Queen delegate cautiously. Elder Coordinator Shepard's expression grew serious. Something far more valuable than technology, information. She activated a final display, a three-dimensional map of multiple galaxies, with pulsing red indicators scattered throughout. There is a reason the United Human Worlds maintains the Nexus network across 12 galaxies, Arbiter. There is a reason we carefully guide the development of rediscovered human worlds rather than simply revealing ourselves. Immediately, the chamber grew utterly silent. We are not alone in the intergalactic community, Shepard continued, and not all advanced civilizations share our preference for cooperation. The red markers indicate detection of what we call the Void Convergence, a coalition of species that view emergent civilizations as resources, to be harvested rather than cultures to be respected. Ambassador Reed took up the explanation. They operate on a scale beyond even the Nexus network. They consume entire galaxies over millennia, moving so slowly that most species never detect the pattern until it's too late. They've been approaching this galaxy for over 30,000 years. The implications stunned the Council representatives. This is why humanity maintained observation outposts throughout Council space long. Before Earth achieved spaceflight, Shepard explained, we weren't merely studying you, we were establishing an early warning system against convergence infiltration. Are you suggesting this convergence has already reached our galaxy? Nixara asked, her scales pale with concern. We've detected probable incursion points in the galactic rim, Voss confirmed, highlighting specific regions on the map, subtle enough that your sensors wouldn't recognize the pattern. Our departure 5 years ago wasn't just a response to Council actions. We needed to consult the Conclave about emerging convergent signatures. Kelzar ambassador. Lekax's crystalline structure darkened with alarm. You're proposing an alliance against this threat. We're proposing much more than that, Elder Coordinator Shepard corrected. We're proposing full integration of this galaxy into the Nexus Defense Network. Sharing of all intergalactic technologies, knowledge, and resources. Joint protection against a threat that neither humanity nor the Council could face alone. She rose from her seat, her presence somehow filling the chamber. 5 years ago, humanity left because the Council wasn't ready for equal partnership. Today we return because neither of us can afford anything less than complete cooperation. The question is no longer whether the Council will accept humanity as equals, but whether together we can preserve both our civilizations against what's coming.